Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and today we've got a very special guest. His name is Winston Meikle, and Winston has got a great story here. He's been a nurse his whole entire adult life, started at a home health aide at 16, became a licensed practical nurse at 18, spent decades at the bedside in critical care and in the ER, inspired his work, and eventually he wrote The Power of Love, a nursing theory. It's rooted in phenomena he observed firsthand. True healing happens when care is infused with empathy and connection, not just protocols. And I love that. And without any further ado, Winston, welcome to the show. I can't wait to hear about your story and about the way you're approaching healing.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here and to be able to address you and your audience. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you got started at a pretty young age. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that happened? Most of us at 16 years old are not busy trying to help other people. How'd you fall into, becoming a home health aide?
Okay, well, my final year in high school, I had one period to attend out of the whole day. And I asked my guidance counselor, what could I do to prepare me for college with all this extra time? And at that time, I was interested in medicine. I was considering life as a doctor.
Okay.
And I told him that, and he suggested that there's a LPN program that was offered by the vocational school that was associated with the high school. The vocational school offered classes to high school students where we would come to school and we'd get on another bus to take us to the vocational school, spend part of the day there, and then come back to the school to finish high school curriculum.
Wow. I wish they had those today. I don't know if they have those anymore.
I don't know. There's still some vocational schools,
Okay.
but it's not quite the same model as what we had in New York at the time. The program is called BOCES, Board of Cooperative Educational Services. It was a beautiful program. It changed my life because through that, I was able to start the LPN program as a high school student. And then 7 months after graduating, I was able to complete the program and get my first nursing license at 18.
Wow. So, I mean, today nursing is a whole different world. In fact, after COVID, there's this huge shortage of nurses and all kinds of problems. I would say nurses are one of the most underappreciated careers out there that provide the most good and service to the world. And aside from teachers, maybe, right in that
Yeah,
league, though, the people that do
yeah.
the most good, they don't get, they don't get.
I appreciate that, Joe. I appreciate that sentiment greatly because I share in that feeling. And, it's not that I think we're underappreciated, but not recognized for the significant role we play in society. We participate in helping people to be well in so many different settings in society that, if we took nurses out of our society, the society would collapse,
We
literally.
would fall apart in no
Uh,
time. People don't
uh,
realize unless you've been like, I just went through a year and a half of battling cancer. And
mhm.
so I was dealing with all kinds of, medical
And I
situations.
hope you had some good nurses in your experience. You
Well,
know,
I did. And I realized that in one setting in the UC system, I very seldom saw a doctor. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
most of the time, whether I was getting, vitals taken or getting meds or getting an infusion or whatever it was some sort of a nurse or a
Nursing
practitioner
personnel, yeah.
that
Yes.
it was not a doctor. I'd see a doctor for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes out of the day, you'll have a conversation with a doctor, and the rest of the time you're spent with nurses.
Yeah,
The rest of the
100%.
24-hour period of the day is nursing or some ancillary part of the nursing staff. So, yes. And you know what, but Joe, there's always been a shortage of nurses. There's always been, and COVID just exacerbated it. It just
Okay.
made it worse. But my entire career, there's been talking about nursing shortage. There's always multiple nursing positions posted in every institution that you could think of. Every place that nurses work, there's an open nurse position
Wow.
waiting to be filled.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, my sister's an RN, so and she's been for a long time, and she works in the ER. So I know in COVID she was in a crazy place, but
Oh, crazy is an understatement. It was
yeah,
otherworldly. It
yeah,
was otherworldly. In my 43 years of nursing, I had not seen and experienced anything remotely close to how traumatic it was and how dramatic it was with regards to the number of fatalities, the pressure, the sadness, the remote. It was just terrible. It was
yeah.
the worst.
People don't realize. I mean, everything bad comes to the ER. I mean,
Yes, yes.
everything horrible, it's all goes there.
And nurses are like firemen when it comes to that kind of thing. When everybody's running out of the burning building, the
Right.
firemen are running in.
Yeah,
When every all of the death and dying is and the thing causing death and dying is at the facility, at the hospital, we have to go there and combat it and help people
exactly.
survive and thrive in that horrible condition. Yeah,
But not
so
only that, but you guys have the least glamorous side of everything. I mean, you have to do all the messy stuff and all the stuff that people don't even want to think about. And you guys gotta, suck it up and go in there and get it
And
done.
absolutely, you're absolutely right. It's a double-edged sword. It's messy, but it's also quite rewarding. I was listening to some doctors have a discussion the other day, and they were talking about some science that was looking at the neurological response to helping others
Uh-huh.
and how it changes brainwaves. The reward from seeing the benefit of your efforts in someone else's doing well is actually a chemical response in your body that's similar to what you would get from taking drugs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That's
Yeah. So
actually what this podcast is all about. We help people find answers and solutions. And I have a nonprofit called Gardens of Hope, and we bring people out to our garden and we help them to heal. And you're right. Anytime that you affect a person in a positive way, whether you really meant to or whether you did it kind of just being who you are, and it comes back to you, woo, yeah, like you said, it's like,
I tell you, I say that all the time to people.
yeah,
I've grown addicted to that feeling.
yeah,
No, seriously, I
I
have.
get it. I
I
have
need it.
too.
I need it. I need to, because my career, I spent a large portion of my career at the bedside in open heart surgery,
Oh, wow.
cardiac surgery recovery, where we take people directly out of the operating room, bypassing the recovery room, and we take them directly out of the operating room where they are on the edge of life. You know
Wow.
what I mean? They're being recovered from anesthesia, and their heart was just a few minutes before in someone's hands.
Wow.
And we have to recover them and bring them back to life and recover them and then treat them as an intensive care unit patient, bring them up to a level now where they can be brought out to the next level of care. And doing that on a day-to-day basis and taking someone from the brink of death and restoring them to wellness to the point where now they're prepared to get out of the hospital. It's a hell of a feeling. It's
I
a
can
when
imagine.
you,
Wow. That's
you can
that's
see
powerful.
someone, you see the guy leaving, you see them walking out of here. I did that. I did that.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I
It's a
love that.
feeling. It's you can't get anywhere else, and I've grown used to it.
So all of these years working, in critical care and the ER and bedside with, like you were saying, open heart surgery patients. Where did you, I mean, at one point you must have gained a little bit of a callus because you have to not get emotionally attached to
No,
all this.
no,
You
absolutely.
you you feel it all.
I get emotional. I get emotional at times.
Wow, you get into everyone. All right, well
I
that's
do. I do. I don't know if that's what made me different in some kind of a way in my ability to affect positive outcomes on a more regular basis when things looked bleak and despair was prominent, and we reverse that and bring it to a positive state of mind, positive energy, and help restore wellness through resonance. I don't know. Maybe I would like to think that my emotional contribution was part of that.
Okay.
I've always said to my patients and my colleagues that I have an infinitely renewable source of love. I can give it away and give it away to everyone I meet in abundance, and I'll never run out of it, and it doesn't cost me anything.
This is true. That's a great way to look at it. I,
You
I,
know,
I like that a lot. I may
so
borrow that myself, actually.
you know, so that's what's been part of what drives me. That I do care, and when things don't work out and you don't get the outcomes that you desire, it hurts, and I'm known as a crier.
Yeah. All
I
right.
will, I will cry for my patients if I suffer a loss that I had grown attached to. I'm not ashamed of that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
because I accept the emotional contribution for whatever it is. I'm always hoping for the best and I'm working towards the best. But if it doesn't work out, that disappointment is real as well. So I accept that as my truth as well. So I don't. I mean, I am that guy. I am that guy that will cheer and cheerlead for my patients and cry if I lose them. So that's me.
So how many years in total did you work at that level of nursing?
I've been in critical care since 1990. I've
Oh, and
been
you're
a
still actively involved with that.
Well, now I'm an administrator for a hospital, and the areas that I cover is intensive care unit, the step down unit, the emergency department.
Okay.
You
So now
know,
you're overseeing
yeah.
the other nurses. So you're not
I'm not in
in the
direct patient care
trenches, but
anymore, but I jump in whenever I
you're
get a
still there.
chance.
Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what I mean? Because I still believe I have the skills, and I like to contribute wherever I can.
Absolutely. And so at one point though, you got inspired to start writing. What happened there?
You know, Joe, I over the years. Okay, let me see where it started. It started back when I was a young man, a teenager, maybe. When I was early in my career, I made observation of things that didn't really make sense or wasn't explained clearly by conventional science or conventional wisdom. And it started when I was trying to inspire my younger brother, who's 4 years behind me, and he was playing sports in high school, and I was trying to encourage him to pursue excellence in whatever he was doing.
Okay.
And I told him in my assessment, the people who were successful at a high level had confidence factor about them, that they believed in their success before their success happened. They
Agreed.
were, you know what I mean? And I
Sure.
and I just called it confidence factor. And this
Yeah.
was a term that we coined and we used between the two of us over the decades. And I encouraged him to wield that power.
Nice.
So he was very actually successful in doing that in a lot of ways. He's been able to manifest things in this world that is like, okay, that's got to be a confidence factor at play, so that's where the foundation started. And then during my nursing career, I would observe things that were taking place at the bedside that continue to defy conventional explanation. Miraculous recoveries, miraculous coincidental happenings of when things happen in a sequence of events that says, wow, that's not normal. That is not explained by the particle physics reality that we've come to understand. As
I
I
100% get it. I've
You know
lived
what
my
I mean?
life
Like,
with
so,
those things.
so I just made mental notes of all these occurrences and
All
tried
right.
to make sense of them over the years. And then I said, started thinking, I said, man, I have to document this. I have to write this down and present it in an organized manner. And then I became exposed to quantum physics.
Ah.
And then I said, wait a second now, hold on. Observer effect, wave particle
Uh-huh.
potential, then collapsing into what we call physical. I said, wait a minute now, hold on. That may be the explanation to what these phenomena
Yeah.
that we're
You're watching it
observing.
happen.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? This is they at minimum are related, and then maximum is the explanation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I started doing a little looking into that, that world of science, and I became more convinced that that was what was going on. So I started talking to my colleagues about, I'm writing a theory about this. I'm going to apply this to nursing theory. I'm going to show how these phenomena can be applied to nursing practice for best outcomes for my patients. You
Nice.
know what I mean? And that was how it started. And I've been saying it for 10 years. And then 2 years ago, I said, okay, I'm going to actually put it down on paper now. I'm gonna start writing it, and I'm gonna start putting
So
it
it was only
together.
2 years ago you put this thing together.
I started, well, 3 years ago actually. It was 2 years
Okay.
before I
You
published
were
it.
collecting the data for it for 10 years, but then
More
you
than 10 years.
so you had all these notes and all these observations and all of these theories and
That phenomenon that was taking place in front of me, that was like, okay, you know, one made me say, oh wow, coincidence. Two is like, wow, that's interesting. Three is like, okay, wait a second now. Four is like, whoa, there's something here. Then the numbers start adding up. 7, 8, 9, 10 incidences of this weird, hard to explain circumstances and coincidences. When you get to 10, 12, 13, 15, I'm like,
yeah,
okay, all right now. It's beyond, it's not a coincidence anymore. And then stop believing coincidences.
yeah.
It's like, hey, this is not a coincidence anymore. There's something here. There's something taking place here that's not explained by what we're told to believe about our physical reality.
I couldn't agree more. I've lived a life of experiences like that. I went through one battle with the government that I ultimately was victorious, and there was no less than 8 or 9 what I called miracles that happened, and they didn't just happen like you said. And then
Yeah.
in the last year and a half, I beat a really aggressive cancer, and again the same thing. My, I have one case study that's published in the medical journal now, and a second one being written. And the
Wow.
doctors don't know what to say. And I'm like,
I
well,
mean, that's amazing, Joe. And you know what I have to say to that is that when someone receives a devastating prognosis
yeah.
or diagnosis, right? Something like that, their mental state and
Hmm.
outlook plays a bigger role
Huge.
than the medicine and the science explain.
Oh, yeah.
How they look at it, appreciate it, and attack it
Yeah.
has a greater determination of the ultimate outcome than the prognosis itself, the diagnosis itself.
Yes.
It's the person
100%.
what the person actualizes in themselves will have a greater determinant of what happens
Yeah.
ultimately.
Both of those cases, I had very clear desire and determination for a certain outcome, and I didn't take my eye off it. I never let my energy go, and I just kept going at it like a friggin' monster until I got what I needed.
I love it. I love it. I love that. That just further confirmation of what I believe.
Yeah.
That's just another one.
Well, what I've gotten out of this is that anything is possible. You look at the quantum world, and if you ever lay out on your back on a clear night and you look up at the stars and you just see this infinite tapestry of light, and you think to yourself, each one of those lights is a gigantic sun that is part of a galaxy that we can't even see. It just goes on and on huge. But then the same thing happens on the small.
Yeah.
And you go
That's
smaller and smaller and smaller, and they keep finding smaller pieces and smaller
yes.
pieces.
They keep trying to find that God particle, which is
Yeah,
the ultimate small.
right.
But as they go deeper, they're smaller and they're
And then they
smaller
find out that it's all connected, and then one thing can be in two places and
at the same
all this
time.
crazy
Yes.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes, the observer effect,
yeah,
quantum entanglement.
right.
It's like, okay, well, hold on now. There's
What
that
comes out of it is that anything is possible. And
absolutely.
when you think about your brain, your spirit, your heart, whatever you want to call it, that thing that is you,
Yes,
that's creative force.
yes.
Literally, like I always tell people, I go, anything you look around you, anything you see, anything, a table, the light,
Hey, I know what you're gonna say. It
yeah,
started as a thought.
somebody thought that at one point.
I say that
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
I tell people that all the time.
right.
If it's not Even you could even push it out to the living beings that you see. You know what I
Yes,
mean? You can push
exactly.
it out that far as well. But keeping it within the realm of just the created man-made things,
Right.
everything that is not a living being that you could see in your environment
Yeah.
was a thought first.
Yes.
Was a thought first. That's how powerful the human mind is. That's how powerful consciousness is. That we
Exactly.
create. We are
Yes.
creators.
Yes.
You know, and it starts with a thought. It starts with the energy of a thought, and the thought is just another form of energy. We're
Absolutely.
energetic beings in an energetic universe, and the interplay of energetic uh, pieces creates what we call our reality. You know how
Exactly.
what we think is a solid piece of plastic or wood or glass is just
Right.
energy in a different vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
And
At a molecular level, it's mostly empty space.
empty space.
Crazy, crazy. Well, we're seeing things through the same lens. So tell me about your book, The Power of Love and Nursing Theory.
Well, it gathered all of that, all of what we just about just in the
Okay.
last few minutes is I'm organizing it into a nursing approach for direct patient care interactions, where you talk to any nurse
Yeah.
and they'll be able to give you a for instance or an example or anecdotal reference to some form of phenomena similar to what we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be able to there's a story about, wow, there was this miracle that happened, or there was
Right.
this crazy thing that happened. Every nurse you speak to will say that they've had an experience like that in their life, right?
Sure.
So that's because they're wielding this power without knowledge of the fact that they're wielding this power,
Got it. All
right?
right.
It's not an organized effort.
Mm-hmm.
So these things are happening incidentally in their experiences. What I'm proposing is now that we understand that this is our reality, now that, you know, uh, okay, let me go back and digress a little bit.
Sure.
Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr,
Mm-hmm.
they spent the 1927 Savoy meeting of the greatest minds in the world debating the nature of our reality. What is the nature of our reality? Einstein was in the particle physics realm, talking about, solid matter, space and time. If something traverses from here to there, there's a time component attached to it, right? Niels Bohr was in the quantum physics world, where he said that, nothing is determined, everything's connected, the observer effect is real. That debate went on for the entire meeting, and that debate continued up until about 2018, I believe it was, when there was a scientist by the name of Anton Zeilinger who did a study using light from two quasars to
Mm-hmm.
determine quantum entanglement and the observer effect. And that was what to me was the deciding factor, where he was just trying to determine, are we in a quantum physics reality, or are we in a particle physics reality? Are we in Niels Bohr's world, or are we in Einstein's world? And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of his research, he determined that we're in a quantum reality, that the observer effect is real, quantum entanglement is real. So that debate is now settled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not widely known, but it's now our truth, right?
Right.
As far as we know up to this point, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if that is our truth, if that is our reality, if that is the fact of our existence, that we're living in a quantum reality, then we should be acting in that knowledge.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean? We should be approaching how we do things in that reality with that. So now, instead of having things happen incidentally, in our practice with our patients, we should make it purposeful, make it a determinate part of how we interact with patients, knowing that our thoughts, intentions and emotions can have an actual impact on what we call our physical reality. So if that's the case, let's organize this into a methodical way of approaching how we interact with patients, knowing that this is our reality.
Hi, this is Joe Grumbine, and I wanted to share an update. The platform that hosts this podcast has made some changes to the subscriber settings, and We have a number of subscriber-only episodes that we offer to the supporters. And for a minimum of $3 a month, we can get you signed up. And if you're already signed up and you're having some kind of trouble locating these episodes in the other platforms, I would say maybe the best answer is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. I'm sorry for the hassle. I don't have any way to make a change, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you.
Nice. I like that. I think one of the things that maybe is the most difficult to overcome are when a patient doesn't have the will to overcome.
Yeah, that's
That
that's
was,
that that's the hard part.
yeah, that was key in my world is especially with the cancer. I was going to beat this. I want to live. I'm going to live. That was just my driving force. But now I run into people that I know I can help with the things I've learned, and I can't get them to care
They're
enough.
not open to it. You know what it is,
Too
Joe?
hard, you know?
We're living in a fear-based reality.
Yeah.
You know, where fear is the predominant orientation.
Hmm.
You know, it's not just an emotion, it's not just a feeling, it's a way of looking at things. It's a way of approaching things, you know, and I address that in the book too, because I also a clinical professor. I teach
Oh,
nurses.
nice.
All right. So, in my clinical experiences with my students, when I get them into my class and when we're going into facilities, and I have to help them get, hands-on with patients and interact with patients for the first time, usually, I tell them, I say, okay, now I understand that you've been indoctrinated into a world of fear
Hmm.
because they start very early in nursing schools indoctrinating nurses into the fear-based perspectives where you're working hard for your license. Don't make a mistake and lose
Right.
your license. Don't do anything that's going to lose your license. Don't
Yeah.
lose fear, 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 fear. And I said, you know what? In this class, we do not practice fear-based nursing. We practice love-based nursing. Okay, and
Nice.
love is not what you get from someone. Love is what you give to someone, and what
Love
you
is the opposite of fear.
it is. They're opposite of fear. People think that the opposite of love is hate. Hate is just a
No.
manifestation of fear. It's
Yeah.
love and fear. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So, they're the two opposing forces. So we said we're gonna practice love-based nursing, and we're not going to focus on anything that we fear. We're gonna not gonna give what we fear any energy, any of our thought energy, not even our emotional energy. We're not going to entertain it at all. We're going to focus on creating the outcomes that we desire for our patients. We're going to bring our expertise, our positive intentions, and our care for our patients in the maximum intention for creating the best outcomes for our patients. And that's how we're going to approach how we interact with our patients. And that's been my approach for how I interact with my students. And for that perspective, I'm changing the orientation. I'm not talking about love as a feeling, an
No.
emotion. It's an orientation to interactions.
Right.
It's a basing of where you're coming from,
Hmm.
the foundational approach.
Exactly. Yeah. It's your why. It's your driving force. I'm coming
Yes.
from a place of love. I'm doing loving work. Yeah.
So, so now nurses are indoctrinated into, and it's not just nurses, most of healthcare providers
Sure.
are indoctrinated into a fear-based
Hmm.
approach to what they're doing, and then they lose empathy and compassion. And as one doctor was saying that in his third year of medical school, he was taught, don't care too much.
Wow.
Don't care too much because you might get caught up and get burnt out. But recent studies have shown that that is the source of burnout, and the cure for burnout is greater compassion, greater care. When you care and you give of yourself and you see the results of caring, that is the antidote to burnout.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. They have a
Absolutely.
thing in oncology they call standard of care, and it's sort of their box that says if this, then that.
Yeah, yeah.
and I couldn't get doctors to go outside of it. And I was like, well, I don't want to do this thing you want to do to me, because the consequences are worse than than the outcome. I don't want that. And I had to be my own advocate and finally find
Absolutely, without a doubt.
a rebel doctor that would go outside of that, who had his own practice and didn't care about, you know, getting kicked off the whatever, And
Yes, the medical board wouldn't come after him because he wasn't following or towing the line or
yeah.
following the conventional pathways that are scripted for them. And that's the kind of doctor that you need today.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
You
they're hard to
need
find. This guy's an 82-year-old Korean guy, and I hope he lives another 20 years because he's helping a lot of people.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And that's the type of doctors that you need in today's society, because I'm going to say this, and at the risk of being very, very controversial, but it's a fact, it's a statistical fact.
Yeah.
The third leading cause of death in America behind heart disease and cancer is medical malpractice.
Oh, I could not agree more.
No, this is a statistical fact. It's not an opinion.
Yeah, no, I stand with you on that. Yeah,
So given that, if that's the truth and that's the reality, your doctor's work can kill you
yeah,
at a high frequency. So you have to be your advocate. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be maximally vigilant when interacting with them.
yes,
And you have to be as informed as you possibly can so that you understand where and what they're offering and saying may be not the best thing for you.
agreed, agreed,
Because they have a scripted pathway that they have to follow, whether it's good or bad. They have to follow it, and
exactly,
they're at greater risk of problems and consequences if they don't follow it, even if it's not necessarily the best thing for their patient.
agreed. Tell me, I mean, we're running a little light on time, and
Oh shoot.
I know that it happens with many guests, and I want to welcome you to come back and go deeper into some of this because I really find where you're coming from fascinating, and I could go real deep into a couple of these angles. I'd love to have you back to do that. But let's hear about your loving care partners and your mobile lab techs.
Okay. My mobile lab text is a company I started about 2021 to fulfill stated goals of the healthcare industry to decentralize services and bring them out into the community.
Mhm.
Whereas instead of having everyone come to the hospital to get the services they need or come to a facility, the services go out to the community to them. Where,
Nice.
in the age of baby boomers aging and the fastest growing demographic is our senior citizens,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of them have impairments, so mobility, homebound, bedbound, chronic illnesses that limits their ability to get out of their homes and go to receive services. My company brings diagnostic services to them.
Nice.
One of the models, well, we have two models. We have one for the patients and one for the providers. The patient's model is bringing the diagnostic services you need to the locations that you want. We're taking the service to you, your home office, your business. The one for the providers is don't send your patients to the lab, send the labs to your patients.
Nice.
So we're doing clinical diagnostic services, x-rays, ultrasound, phlebotomy, specimen collections for clinical labs, paternity testing, molecular diagnostics, and drug and alcohol testing. That's what our four divisions of service.
Nice.
Okay. Loving Care Partners is a company we just formed and it's not completely launched yet. It's a healthcare consumer advocacy company helping patients to navigate their healthcare system to their best benefit because the system is self-serving.
Oh,
I've worked in the belly of the beast for 40 plus years and I it's something that I cannot not see. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You know what I mean?
A
And what I
nightmare.
see, the system is self-serving and patients are not necessarily getting the best that they should,
Right.
and so
Put it
I work
mildly.
with I know. So I've started Loving Care Partners to help guide people to best outcomes to information, education, and advocacy. We help them to make better decisions for themselves through giving them the best information that they can get.
Nice. Well, Winston, if you had one thought to impart to our listeners, I know you could probably have a dozen of them, but if you could distill down and you had a 20-second elevator pitch to leave our guests with, what would that look like?
Okay. Understand the nature of your reality. We're living in a quantum reality, and you have greater control over the world around you than you've been taught. Wield that power for your best benefit. Your
I love
thoughts
that.
matter. The words you use matter. The ideas you keep in your mind matter. Wield them to your best benefit. Positive thinking, a love-based approach to everything. The most loving response to whatever you're dealing with will always be the best response.
I love that. That I could not agree with that more. I telling people all the time, what are you talking about? These things you don't like for,
Yeah, why give it energy? Why give it
giving them
focus?
life. Yeah, just talk about the good stuff.
Yes,
It's crazy.
yes.
Well, you've got a couple of books, you've got a couple of businesses. Why don't you let us know how we can find them and how to reach you?
Okay, well, you can go to poweroflovetheory.com. That's where you'll find my literary works going. And there's my contact information is there, and the opportunities to buy the book is there. Poweroflovetheory.com, no spaces. Okay. And my mobile app text is mobilelabtext.com. And then when Loving Care Partners is fully launched, there's a platform with 4 tiers of membership that you can join and receive opportunity to see all of our documents that talks about the healthcare experience from registration to post-discharge, with tutorials about different procedures you might undergo while you're in a facility, how to respond to them, what to expect. And you can get that at lovingcarepartners.org. Okay.
Beautiful.
All
Well,
right.
I am so grateful that we had a chance to sit together and have this conversation. And I'm dead serious about wanting to go deeper. There,
Whenever you're ready, Joe, I'm ready because, there's so much more that we could have talked about. There's so much
we
more.
just barely scratched the surface. And
Yeah.
these things that you're talking about are so powerful, and they translate way beyond the medical world.
Yes.
They
Yes.
translate
Yes.
into
Yes.
every aspect of everybody's life, and I believe they deserve more attention. So let's talk about that maybe in a month or two. Let's look at getting back together and doing this again.
Sounds great, Joe. Appreciate you having me, and it's my pleasure and honor to be addressing you and your audience. So I look forward to having a deeper discussion about these topics later on.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and I want to thank all of our listeners for making this show possible. And we will see you next. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.